The endless ice stretched beneath a perpetual twilight, a ghostly landscape that echoed silence except for the haunting howl of the frigid wind. Scattered across this frozen wasteland were the carcasses of old spacecraft, half buried and forgotten, their histories erased by time and cold. Among these relics moved a solitary figure, wrapped in a heavy, weather-beaten coat, his face shadowed beneath a hood. This was Dex, once a commander in the Terran military, now nothing more than a fugitive and a pirate, marked by a jagged scar that cut across his right cheek, a memento from a betrayal he could never forget. Dex's eyes, sharp and vigilant, scanned the horizon before he knelt beside a half-buried fuselage, his gloved hands working quickly to remove a panel. He was searching for parts, anything useful, any remnant of technology that he could repurpose or barter. Survival out here meant scavenging what others had left behind, and Dex was a master of reclaiming forgotten treasures. As he worked, his mind wandered back to the days when he commanded starships, not scavenged them. Those days felt like they belonged to another life, to another man, one who still believed in the honor of service and the integrity of his commanders. Now all that remained was the ice, the wind, and the memories he couldn't escape. With a grunt, Dex pried loose a power converter, inspecting it under the dim light of his handheld torch. It was a small victory against the unyielding grip of the frozen planet. He tucked the device into his pack and stood, gazing out over the icy desolation. It was time to move on. The day was only so long here at the edge of known space, and the cold was an unforgiving companion. Dex sealed his pack with a firm tug at the straps, the action methodical, honed by years of survival. Standing up, he looked out over the icy expanse, the dim light of the distant sun casting long shadows across the snow. Each shadow seemed to stretch back towards his past, towards a life once lived with honor under the flag of the Terran military. A life he could hardly connect to the man he was now. He remembered the roar of starship engines, the camaraderie of his crew, and the crisp salute of his subordinates. Those memories seemed like echoes now, ghosts haunting the edges of his reality. He shook his head slightly, as if to dispel the images, but the sharpness of one memory cut through the rest. It was the day the truth had been laid bare before him. The day he found the classified files on his superior's console, files detailing hidden experiments on unwitting colonial populations. The horror of what he read had been etched into his mind. Images of suffering, of civilians used as lab rats for bioweapons. His heart had raced, his stomach had churned with disgust and disbelief. The sound of the wind moaned across the barren landscape, mirroring the turmoil he had felt. He had made his decision then, a decision that marked him as a traitor to some and a hero to others. He had leaked the information, fully aware of the consequences. There was no going back, only forward into the frigid unknown. With a final scan of the horizon, Dex hoisted his pack over his shoulder, the weight familiar and somewhat comforting. The artifact, now safely tucked away, was his ticket to something new. Perhaps redemption, perhaps further damnation. Only time would tell. As he began his trek back to his hidden ship, each step crunched in the snow, a steady rhythm in the vast silence, pushing him away from his past and deeper into the shadows of the uncharted space that was now his domain. As Dex approached the rugged contours of his spaceship, hidden away under layers of snow and ice, the wind seemed to carry a sharp bite, a reminder of the cold universe waiting beyond this forgotten planet. The ship, named the Revenant, stood as a testament to Dex's resourcefulness, a patchwork of salvaged parts, each telling a story of battles and narrow escapes. He keyed in the access code on his wrist device, and with a hiss, the entry ramp lowered, cutting through the snow with a grating noise that broke the eerie silence of the ice fields. Dex ascended the ramp, his heavy boots leaving deep impressions in the snow. Once inside, the familiar hum of the ship's systems booting up greeted him like an old friend. Inside the Revenant, the cockpit was cramped but functional, designed for solo flights, but equipped with enough stations to manage a larger crew if needed. Dex ran a diagnostic check, the screens flickering to life with data streams and status reports. Every system check was a step closer to leaving the ice behind. As the checks ran, Dex's thoughts drifted to the artifact now secured in his pack. Its secrets could mean a new beginning, or they could attract dangers he couldn't even foresee. With a final glance at the diagnostics, satisfied that all systems were green, he stowed his gear and prepared for departure. Navigating through the narrow hallways, Dex made his way to the lower decks, where the crew quarters lay dormant and cold. He paused at the door to his old quarters, a space he hadn't used in what felt like another lifetime. Today, he would change that. Today, he was not just a scavenger, but a captain with a ship ready to explore the unknown. He flicked on the lights in his quarters, casting long shadows across the small utilitarian space. After setting down his belongings, he turned to the compact armory, checking on the weaponry and suits. Everything needed to be in order, whether for a skirmish or a quick escape. Returning to the cockpit, Dex keyed in the coordinates for the nearest jump point out of the system. The engines rumbled to life, the vibration running through the ship like a pulse. As the Revenant disengaged its moorings and lifted off, the snow and ice cascaded off its hull, and the planet shrank away into the darkness of space. Dex watched it go. A part of his past buried there, but a vast, uncharted universe lay ahead. As the Revenant broke free from the gravitational embrace of the ice-covered planet, the vastness of space enveloped the ship. Stars twinkled like distant candles in the darkness, and the black void seemed both menacing and inviting. Dex stood at the helm, his hands steady on the controls, his gaze fixed on the panorama of space unfolding before him. Navigating through lesser-known sectors required precision and an alert mind. Dex plotted a course toward a distant star system, rumored to harbor a hidden trading outpost. His eyes flicked between the navigation screens and the star-studded vista outside his viewport, his mind calculating trajectories and fuel consumption with practiced ease. As the engines hummed with renewed purpose, Dex allowed himself a moment of reflection. The freedom of space was liberating, yet unforgiving. Here, every decision carried weight, every choice a potential life or death consequence. He knew the stakes all too well, a reality that had shaped him into the solitary figure he was today. Suddenly, a crackle over the communication system interrupted his thoughts. A distorted voice emerged, barely comprehensible through the static. Warning, unregistered vessel, you are entering restricted space. The message repeated on a loop, an automated alert not intended for casual wanderers. Dex paused, his finger hovering over the console. Entering restricted space could mean trouble with the local authorities, or, worse, an encounter with rival pirates who preyed in these parts. But turning back was not in his nature. He had a ship built to handle a few surprises, and the allure of undiscovered opportunities was too tempting to ignore. With a firm press on the thruster controls, Dex decided to push forward. The Revenant surged ahead, slicing through the cosmic sea as it headed toward the unknown. The alert continued to blare in the background, but Dex muted it, his focus sharp. He was a master of his fate, steering his ship into uncharted territories, ready for whatever challenges awaited in the depths of space. As the Revenant delved deeper into the starlit expanse, Dex's focus was laser-sharp, each star a guidepost on his perilous journey. The ship's sensors beeped intermittently, picking up the faint signals and anomalies that speckled this uncharted region of space. The quiet hum of the engine was punctuated by a sudden series of beeps from the navigation console, an anomaly detected nearby. Dex leaned forward, zooming in on the display. The sensors had picked up a faint, irregular signal, something encrypted and not naturally occurring. It was the kind of signal that could either mean a distress call or a trap set by space marketers. Deciding that the risk might be worth the potential reward, Dex adjusted the ship's course, steering towards the source of the signal. As the Revenant approached the coordinates, the signal grew stronger, and an outline of a derelict spacecraft began to materialize on the visual scanner. The ship looked ancient, adrift with no signs of life, a ghost ship in every sense of the word. With a cautious hand, Dex activated the ship's external lights, casting beams that cut through the void, illuminating the drifting hulk. The ship bore marks of a skirmish, its hull scarred and breached in several places. Curiosity piqued. Dex donned his suit, preparing for a spacewalk to investigate further. This was a salvage opportunity too good to pass up, and potentially a treasure trove of forgotten technology and valuable resources. Stepping into the airlock, Dex felt the familiar rush of anticipation mixed with the chill of the unknown. As the doors sealed behind him and the exterior hatch opened, he was greeted by the vast silence of space, punctuated only by the soft hiss of his suit's life support system. Floating out towards the ghost ship, Dex was a solitary figure against the backdrop of infinite stars, drawn irresistibly towards the secrets that lay waiting in the derelict's shadowed corridors. As Dex approached the ghost ship, his suit's headlights pierced the darkness, revealing the battered exterior of the vessel. The hull bore the scars of cosmic battles long past, its metal surface pockmarked with debris impacts and scorched by laser fire. The insignia on the hull was faded, almost unrecognizable, a relic of a faction long dissolved in the ever-shifting alliances of space. He maneuvered with practiced ease, his movements precise in the zero-gravity environment. Reaching the airlock of the derelict ship, Dex found it slightly ajar, the locking mechanism damaged. It was an inviting yet ominous sign. He tethered himself to the ship's exterior and used his suit's built-in tools to pry the airlock open further. The interior was shrouded in darkness, only the occasional flicker of a failing light panel illuminating the corridor ahead. Dex switched on his suit's full lighting array, casting a stark white glow that chased away the shadows. He floated through the airlock, entering the silent corridors of the ghost ship. Inside, the gravity was offline, and remnants of the crew floated eerily in the hallways, victims of a catastrophe that had left no survivors. Dex maneuvered around them with a mix of reverence and practicality, knowing that the dead held no claim over the treasures that might be hidden within. His destination was the ship's bridge, a likely place to find data logs or abandoned tech that could be valuable. As he made his way there, his path was blocked by a debris field within the ship. Sections of the ceiling and wall panels had caved in, possibly during an attack or due to a critical system failure. With careful thrusts of his jetpack, Dex navigated through the debris, mindful of sharp edges and unstable structures. Finally reaching the bridge, Dex found it intact, but abandoned. The command consoles were still aglow with residual power, casting an eerie light in the dim cabin. He approached the main console, his gloves brushing against the dust-covered controls. With a few taps, he booted up the ship's log, eager to uncover the secrets held within the digital depths of the ghost ship's memory. As the ship's log flickered to life, Dex watched intently as the screen displayed logs that were sporadic and fragmented, signs of the ship's final chaotic moments. He scrolled through the entries, finding mentions of a mysterious cargo, cryptic coordinates, and warnings of an impending attack. It seemed the crew had stumbled upon something valuable, perhaps too valuable, drawing the fatal attention of rival factions or marauders. While scanning the data, Dex noticed a secured file that required higher clearance, a hidden layer in the ship's digital archives. His interest piqued. Dex deployed a hacking module from his suit. The small device interfaced with the console, its lights blinking rapidly as it worked to bypass the security protocols. The hacking module beeped triumphantly. The file was unlocked. Inside, Dex found detailed schematics of an unknown technology and coordinates to a location marked only as the Nexus. The data suggested that it was a place of significant importance, potentially harboring advanced technology or resources. It was the kind of discovery that could alter the balance of power in the galaxy, the kind that made legends or marked graves. Realizing the gravity of his find, Dex downloaded the data onto a portable drive. Just as he disconnected the drive, a low, ominous thud echoed through the ship. He froze, listening intently. The sound repeated, closer this time, a sure sign that something else was aboard the ship with him. Dex quickly secured the drive in his suit's storage compartment and drew his blaster, his eyes scanning the shadowy corners of the bridge. The ambient lights flickered as another thud resonated, followed by a mechanical whir. Something, or someone, was moving towards the bridge, maneuvering through the crippled corridors of the ghost ship. His back against the command console, Dex prepared for a confrontation, his pulse racing. He knew the stakes were high, and whatever was approaching, it wasn't here for pleasantries. As the silhouette of a humanoid figure appeared in the doorway, Dex tightened his grip on his weapon, ready to defend his life and the secrets he had just uncovered. In the dim light of the bridge, the silhouette paused, its form outlined by the flickering console lights. Dex's eyes narrowed as he tried to discern features, but the figure remained shrouded in darkness. Tension filled the air, a palpable force as the intruder made the first move, stepping cautiously into the light. The figure was clad in a high-tech combat suit, similar to Dex's but sleeker, clearly designed for stealth and quick movement. Its visor was opaque, reflecting the dim lights of the bridge back at Dex. The intruder held a weapon, a compact blaster leveled directly at Dex. "Drop your weapon," a distorted voice commanded from behind the mask, its tone unyielding. Dex weighed his options quickly. He could fight, potentially gaining the upper hand with his knowledge of the ship's layout, or he could try to negotiate. Keeping his weapon raised, Dex replied, "Who are you? What do you want?" His voice was steady, betraying none of the adrenaline that surged through his veins. The figure responded without lowering the blaster. "I'm here for the same thing you are, the data. Hand it over and you can walk away from this." Dex smirked slightly. "Seems we're at an impasse," he said, his mind racing. He needed to keep the intruder talking, buy some time to think. "You're not the first to track this ship. What makes you think you can succeed where others have failed?" The intruder took a step forward, its stance aggressive. "Because I'm not here to negotiate. I have orders, and I always complete my missions." The standstill was broken by another noise, this time a screeching metal sound from the corridor behind the intruder. Both turned instinctively towards the sound, but it was Dex who reacted faster. With the intruder momentarily distracted, Dex took his chance. He dove behind a console, rolling into a crouch and firing a stun shot at the figure. The shot hit, and the intruder staggered, but the suit seemed to absorb some of the impact, only partially slowing them down. Dex didn't hesitate. He rushed forward, tackling the figure to the ground. The struggle was fierce but brief. Dex managed to pin the intruder, wrenching the blaster away and securing it at the figure's temple. "Let's talk," Dex said, breathing heavily. His blaster pressed firmly against the intruder's helmet. "And this time, you're going to do the talking." In the tense silence that followed, Dex was keenly aware of the ship creaking around them, the ghostly echoes of the past now witnesses to a new confrontation. The pressing muzzle of Dex's blaster, the intruder finally spoke, his voice less distorted now, edged with caution. Okay. Listen, I'm not here to die over some data. I was sent by the Orion Syndicate. They heard rumors about this ship and its cargo. I'm just here to retrieve it." Dex kept the blaster steady, though his interest piqued. The Orion Syndicate was notorious, powerful player in the black market of information and weaponry. "And why should I believe you? For all I know, you could shoot me in the back the moment I let you go," Dex countered, his gaze fixed on the reflective visor. "I have my orders, but I value my life more," the intruder replied, a hint of earnestness breaking through. "Look, we can work together on this. I can get you safe passage through Syndicate-controlled space. It's worth more than the data." Dex considered this. An alliance, even a temporary one, could indeed be beneficial, especially with someone who had access to the Syndicate's resources. Slowly, he lowered his weapon, but kept it ready. "Start talking. What exactly does your Syndicate want with this ship?" The intruder adjusted slightly, relaxing as the immediate threat lessened. "It's not just the ship, it's what's aboard it. There's technology here, something new, something big. We believe it can be repurposed, used for significant gain." Dex's curiosity deepened. He nodded for the intruder to continue. "And the coordinates to the Nexus? Is that part of your significant gain?" "Yes," the intruder confessed. "It's rumored to be a site of immense power, possibly an ancient tech hub. If we get there first, we can control whatever's there." With a slow, calculated move, Dex helped the intruder to his feet, keeping one hand on his blaster. "We'll go to the Nexus together then. But remember, I'm watching you every step of the way. Any sign of treachery, and our deal is off." The intruder nodded, understanding the terms. Fair enough. Together, they accessed the ship's navigation system, entering the newly revealed coordinates. As the derelict's engines hummed to life, a course was set towards the Nexus. Both men knew that whatever lay at those coordinates could change their fortunes forever, or end them. As the Revenant left the ghost ship behind, the stars seemed to watch, silent observers to the fragile truce formed in the depths of space. Dex kept his eyes on the view screen and his newfound ally, wary of the unknown paths and potential betrayals that lay ahead. The journey to the Nexus was tense. The silence in the cockpit punctuated only by the occasional beep of the navigation system and the soft hum of the Revenant's engines. Dex kept his eyes on the starlit space ahead, aware of every subtle movement of his uneasy ally, who was now manning the secondary controls. The coordinates led them through a nebula, its clouds of gas and dust shimmering with eerie colors under the light of distant stars. The beauty of it was almost distracting, but Dex remained vigilant, his hand never far from his blaster. As they navigated through the nebula, the ship's sensors started to pick up unusual readings. Energy spikes ahead, not consistent with normal space phenomena, the intruder pointed out, his voice tense. Dex leaned over to examine the data. The readings suggested an artificial energy source, powerful and controlled, likely a defense mechanism surrounding the Nexus. "Looks like we're expected," Dex muttered under his breath. He adjusted the ship's course, trying to skirt the edges of the detected energy field, but as they approached closer, a sudden burst of energy rocked the ship. Alarms blared, and the ship shuddered under the force of the energy wave. "Shields at 40% and dropping." The intruder shouted over the noise. Dex gritted his teeth and took manual control, navigating through the blasts of energy with a pilot's precision. "Hang on. I'm going to try to punch through." With a determined push on the thrusters, Dex steered the Revenant directly towards the source of the energy spikes. The ship bucked wildly as it collided with the energy waves, but Dex kept his focus, weaving through the most intense bursts. Finally, they broke through the outer perimeter of the energy field. Before them lay the Nexus, not just a point in space, but an actual structure, massive and ancient, its origin clearly not of human design. It floated there in space, an enigmatic monument surrounded by the nebula's luminescent fog. Both men were silent, taking in the sight of the mysterious structure that had been hidden from the universe for who knew how long. The potential of what lay inside filled the cockpit with a thick anticipation. Dex turned to the intruder, his expression hard. "Prepare for a rough landing. Whatever secrets the Nexus holds, we're about to find out." With careful maneuvering, Dex guided the ship towards what appeared to be a docking bay, its doors slowly opening as if welcoming them, or drawing them into a trap. As they approached the entryway, lights flickered on within, illuminating a path into the heart of the Nexus. The ship entered the bay, landing with a gentle thud. The air was heavy with the promise of discovery and danger, a new chapter waiting to unfold as soon as they stepped off the ship. As the docking bay doors closed silently behind them, Dex and his unlikely ally stepped off the Revenant, their boots clanking lightly on the metallic floor. The air inside the Nexus was stale, hinting at centuries of disuse, yet it was breathable, a sign of advanced life support systems still in operation. The interior of the Nexus was vast and dimly lit, the walls lined with conduits and panels, all leading toward a central chamber. The structure of the facility suggested it was not just a repository of technology, but possibly a command center of some forgotten civilization. Dex kept his blaster ready, his senses heightened. "Stay sharp. We don't know what we're walking into," he cautioned, his voice echoing slightly in the large space. As they advanced, sensor lights flickered to life automatically with their movement, illuminating pathways lined with alien script and symbols that neither could decipher. The symbols pulsed with a soft, luminescent glow, guiding them deeper into the Nexus. As Dex and the intruder entered the vast central chamber of the Nexus, they were immediately struck by its sheer scale and complexity. The chamber, a massive circular hall, was dominated by a pulsating crystalline structure at its center. The walls, adorned with holographic displays and ancient scripts, whispered the secrets of a long-forgotten language. The intruder seemed particularly focused as he approached the central artifact. Sensors activated upon his approach, projecting a detailed holographic map of the galaxy that highlighted unknown regions and potential strategic points of interest. Dex, intrigued by the precision and scope of the information, didn't notice the subtle shift in the intruder's demeanor. As Dex leaned closer to examine a display showing advanced propulsion technologies, the intruder silently withdrew a compact, high-energy stun device. With a swift motion, he activated the device, directing a surge of energy towards Dex. The blast caught Dex off guard, sending a jolt through his body, and dropping him unconscious to the floor. With Dex incapacitated, the intruder wasted no time. He quickly downloaded a cache of data from the Nexus's systems, superficial information, yet valuable for the right buyer. With the stolen knowledge secured, he sprinted back through the echoing corridors of the Nexus, his footsteps fading into the distance. By the time Dex regained consciousness, the dull hum of the Revenant's engines firing up echoed ominously through the chamber. He staggered to his feet and rushed towards the docking bay. But it was too late. Through the closing bay doors, he saw the last glimpses of the Revenant as it blasted away. Alone in the massive, echoing chamber of the Nexus, Dex felt a cold fury settle over him. He wasn't just abandoned. He was challenged. Surrounded by the most advanced knowledge the galaxy had to offer, he realized he had the means to not only survive, but to exact revenge and impose his brand of justice. Dex embraced his new domain, tapping into the Nexus's databases to equip himself with knowledge of advanced weaponry, defensive systems, and strategic assets. He wasn't just going to find his way back to civilization. He was going to emerge as a force to be reckoned with, ready to destroy those who deserved it and protect those who needed him, on his terms. Resolved to use the Nexus as his arsenal and its secrets as his shield, Dex prepared to carve his path through the stars, driven by the desire to settle scores and to ensure that no one could ever leave him behind again. He would be the judge, the jury, and if necessary, the executioner. His journey through the galaxy was no longer just about survival, it was about retribution and control.